I'm Matthew Monis here at Panasonic CES 2017, and as a video creator, I've been very excited to show you guys the brand new Lumix GH5. This camera has all the latest specs with 422 coloring, it's 10-bit, it has 2 SD card slots so you can have continuous recording, and it shoots at 60 frames per second in 4K. But you know what? I have someone here who's a lot more experienced than I am to tell you a little bit more about it. Everyone, this is Griffin Handman.
Hey.
How you doing?
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yeah.
So, tell us about your experience with this camera. I understand you actually did a video with it.
Yeah, I've already shot a 5-minute documentary on the GH5, and I was very happy with it. I mean, it's familiar in a way that, it has all the functionality the GH4 had that I love, but now it has in-body image stabilization, it's 4K 60p, they've added a lot of new features.
So I saw your video, it looked really good, the quality was fantastic. Tell us a bit about your workflow using the GH5 compared to the GH4.
Well, I love shooting handheld, and I still did that with the GH4, but I noticed when I was shooting in 4K, you could see the little handheld jitter. And this camera's nice because it has in-body image stabilization, so it still has handheld movement, but just that little shake is gone, which is really nice. And
low light, how does it perform in low light? Because the GH4, it was good in low light, but everybody always wants better low light. How does it compare to that?
It's great. I was shooting up at 1600 ISO, not getting too much noise, and I was actually shooting this whole thing at half the shutter speed that I normally would. I was dealing with half as much light to shoot in 60p, but it performed wonderfully.
That's amazing. So tell me a little bit more about having this camera on the field. Is it waterproof, dustproof?
Yeah, actually it's splash-proof, it's freeze-proof, and it's still compact even though it can shoot 4K 60p. It's still a nice lightweight body size that I can be pretty unobtrusive. And the battery, is it the same one as the GH4 or is it same battery that I loved from the GH3?
What is going on, Tech Squad? Andrew Edwards here, editor-in-chief of GearLife.com, and I've pulled myself away from The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild just long enough to bring you this first look and unboxing of the brand new Panasonic Lumix GH5. Now I've got the GH5 right here. Big shout out to Panasonic for sending this over in order for us to start checking it out and using it. By the way, if you're interested in the Panasonic GH5, it should be coming out right around the end of March. And before we get started, just so you know, I'll be leaving links to everything I mentioned here in the video down in the description below in case you want to pick any of this stuff up. So today we're going to be unboxing the Lumix GH5, and I'll be explaining to you a little bit about the hardware and what makes people so excited about this camera. So let's go ahead and jump into it right now. So in case you don't know what makes the GH5 so special is the fact that it can record 10-bit 422 in camera, 4K. This means you don't have to hook up an external recorder in order to record in that higher quality. What you will need though is a fast SD card to keep up with all that data. Now, as you may have seen in my Nintendo Switch top 5 accessories video, and if you haven't seen it, I'll drop a link down below as well as leave a card up there to make it easy for you to find it. I use and recommend SanDisk cards. I use a SanDisk micro SD card in my Nintendo Switch, and I use SanDisk SDXC cards in my DSLRs. And I'm actually gonna throw a pair of SanDisk Extreme cards into the GH5 itself since it has 2 SD card slots. Now I'll leave a link to the SanDisk cards at B&H Photo down in the description below. B&H will typically have some of the better deals out there on these cards and electronics in general. Now, as for those 2 SD card slots, you can choose to use them in 3 different ways. First, you can have one card recording video and the other card dedicated to capturing photos. Number 2, you can actually have all your media stored on both. So if you snap a photo, you can have it stored on both cards, basically giving you an automatic backup. And that works whether you're shooting video or taking pictures. So each card will be a carbon copy of each other. And then my personal favorite is using them as overflow. So you put 2 cards in there. When one card gets full, the camera automatically switches to the next card. Now the cool thing is that Panasonic says these are hot swappable SD card ports. So for example, say you're using it in that third method that I just mentioned. You're using it as overflow. The first card gets full and the camera automatically switches to using the second card. While that second card is in use, you can pull out the first card, go import it into your computer, format it, and put it back in, and now that first card becomes the overflow card. So when the second card gets full, it goes back to using that first card again. And then you can take out the second card and do the same thing. So as long as you're plugged into power and not using battery, the Panasonic GH5 is the only camera I'm aware of that'll let you continuously record a video between two cards without you running into any sort of length restriction. Frame rates are 24, 50, or 30 frames per second for consumer 4K, and they're fixed at 24 frames per second for cinema 4K. It can also record at higher 50 or 60 frame per second bit rate if you choose instead to record at 8-bit 420. And of course, like pretty much every other camera on the market, it can obviously record at 1080p. The best part here though is that there's no focal length crop or time limit associated with video capture in any mode. So regardless of your resolution, your frame rate, or your compression choices, you'll be able to shoot continuously for as long as you have remaining card space, and your video will only be cropped to match the aspect ratio of the final output video using the full image sensor width. So let's go ahead and get this box open. First up, we're gonna see the manual and documents. You got a full manual here. This is pretty exhaustive and nice. And there's also a document that goes over the 4K and 6K photo modes. Now the Panasonic GH5 is able to offer 4K capture at up to 60 frames per second. And that means 4K photo mode can now offer up to 60 frames per second capture at 8.3 megapixel resolution. The GH5 also offers a new 6K photo mode. This means you get a much higher 18 megapixel resolution for each individual frame of video, and that still allows for 30 frames per second capture. So if you're a photographer, these video modes actually benefit you the most. You can record a short video clip in 6K photo mode and then extract an 18 megapixel image from that video. Now in the box is one of the brand new Panasonic 12 to 60 millimeter zoom lenses. This is not the one that Panasonic's been selling for a while now with the slower aperture speed, which some people have actually mistakenly assumed about this lens. This one is an f2.8 to f4 aperture Leica certified lens. This right here is the GH5 neck strap, something I'll probably not use just because I usually have the camera on a tripod for shooting video. And since Micro Four Thirds cameras are so small and light, I'll usually use a wrist strap instead of a full-on neck strap. The battery itself in the box is the DMW BLF19.
Selfies with accurate framing. Can record in full 4K resolution. Wireless file sharing downloads easily transfer to a nearby device. Here are the cons. Recording in 4K resolution will quickly fill up most SD cards, requiring extra cards for longer vlogs. The best reviews bottom line. The best value vlogging camera with full 4K capability and an advanced LCD screen. The next vlogging camera by Canon is our third top pick. Here are the pros. Large body can accept any standard lens in the Canon lens lineup. Screen tilts for self-focused shooting. Optical viewfinder offers a true photographic experience. Fast autofocus. Here are the cons. Wireless and Bluetooth connectivity is limited in functionality and slow for larger file sizes. The best reviews bottom line. A high-end vlogging camera with a documentary-like quality in the image resolution. We rank this Canon vlogging camera as our fourth top pick. Here are the pros. Full 1080p recording capability captures great